Tonight on CFTK-TV, a Northwest family has created a petition for safety on Highway 37. The federal government reacts to the departure of Chrystia Freeland, and Terry Fox will have his face on the $5 bill.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, I'm Damian Smith, and thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. Our first story of the day is about a petition that is being started by the family of one of the victims of the recent Highway 37 fatal crashes. Here's Jaylene Matthews with the story.
On November 6th of this year, RCMP received a report of a single vehicle rollover on Highway 37 South near Hanson Road. One witness reported seeing the vehicle hydroplane and go off the road before landing upside down, submerged in water. The two occupants of the vehicle did not survive the collision. Two young people died, identified online by their families as Cassidy Malo and Jaden Gray. There was heavy rain that day. 2 years prior, on Friday, March 11th, 2022, a different spot on that same highway claimed the lives of two young Terrace students, Ashton in grade 4 and Kylie in grade 6, as well as their mother, Elizabeth. In their case, RCMP say the northbound car crossed the center line and collided with the southbound commercial vehicle. Weather conditions were poor. In 2016, a 4-car collision at the Williams Creek Bridge on that highway claimed the life of local teacher Dave O'Brien and injured 3 others. Water pooling was cited as an issue. In 2018 and 2024, resurfacing and paving work was done along the highway. In ICBC's reported crashes on Tableau Public, it's reported there have been 95 crashes along Highway 37A since 2019. Now, family of Cassidy Malo have created a petition in her honor. Cited in the petition's description, which is directed at the Transport Minister, Stephanie Fox, Cassidy's aunt, writes, "In response to frequent tragedies, we seek the installation of adequate barriers, guardrails, and additional preventative measures along the highway." She writes that they believe substantial safety enhancements could eventually deter accidents and save lives. The petition can be accessed via change.org and is linked on cftkTV.com. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
And during Saturday afternoon last week, the Terrace RCMP was able to hold their annual Cram a Cruiser charity event where local citizens would fill up police vehicles with non-perishable donations. And vehicles were placed in the parking lots of stores like Safeway, Save On Foods, and Wholesale Club, with Terrace residents proving to be very generous once again. 5 cruisers in total were able to be filled as part of the event, with over $2,400 being raised as well. All the items would then be shared between local charities like the Salvation Army, the Terrace Church's Food Bank, as well as the Cassant Place. The event even featured appearances from Santa and Safety Bear to help spread the holiday cheer. The RCMP also made sure to thank everyone who helped make the event the success that it was. And moving on to federal politics, where it has been a very heavy week with Chrystia Freeland resigning as MP just yesterday, and Justin Trudeau having to make sudden changes to the Liberal Party.
Former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland was greeted by a standing ovation at an evening caucus meeting, according to sources. The meeting lasted an hour, with Trudeau addressing MPs and then listening to them.
Minister, why don't you resign?
He emerged seemingly unfazed, despite division that clearly remains.
Canada, you've ruined our country!
We're not united. There's still a number of our members who feel we need a change in leadership. I'm one of those.
All I'm going to say is he has my full support. I'm not going to talk about what happened in caucus, and that's it.
Later in the evening, the Prime Minister addressed a Liberal fundraiser, where he acknowledged the cloud hanging over the room.
It's obviously been an eventful day, and it has not been an easy day.
He did not mention Freeland or her departure earlier today, when instead of delivering her fall economic statement, Freeland posted her resignation letter. In it, she said Friday, Trudeau told her she'd be moved out of her portfolio. Freeland wrote, "To be effective, a minister must speak on behalf of the Prime Minister and with his full confidence. In making your decision, you made clear that I no longer credibly enjoy that confidence and possess the authority that comes with it."
Can Justin Trudeau stay at this point?
The news was a shock to cabinet ministers.
Chrystia Freeland is a good friend, someone I work with very, very closely. as president of the Treasury Board and Minister of Transport, this news has hit me really hard.
Freeland's letter acknowledged that she and the Prime Minister were at odds over how to steer the country's finances forward. Citing the upcoming tariff war with President-elect Donald Trump, Freeland said Canada has to keep its fiscal powder dry, adding, quote, "That means eschewing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford and which make Canadians doubt that we recognize the gravity of the moment." The government's 2-month GST holiday just kicked in, and a plan to give out $250 checks to working Canadians remains in limbo. Opposition leaders seized the opportunity to again call for Trudeau to step down.
Justin Trudeau has lost control, and yet he clings to power.
Mr. Trudeau's government is over.
That sentiment echoed by the NDP, which has helped to keep the minority Liberals afloat even after tearing up the Supply and Confidence Agreement.
Justin Trudeau has to go. He has to resign. And because of that, all options are on the table. And we'll look at each vote.
And back to local news, BC Transit recently released an article disclosing how they will be operating in a variety of areas when New Year's Eve finally comes around. The article mentioned that northern areas like Kitimat will get free buses after 7 p.m. and service extended up until 5 a.m. Prince Rupert will have free service between 5 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. and Smithers is getting free service after 8 p.m. and extended service up until 2:30 a.m. More details are available on BC Transit's website. A water bomber situated in North Saanich is ready to take off to the United States this week, and a few were there, including CTV's Brennan Strain, who got a chance to look back on some history.
This morning, all eyes were focused on North Saanich's Patricia Bay.
I came to see the plane.
It's too bad it's so far out in the waters.
It's the massive Philippine Mars water bomber that departed from Port Alberni's Sprout Lake yesterday morning, headed for its first stop in San Francisco before making its way to San Diego, then on to its final destination in Tucson, Arizona. Near Port Townsend, the Philippines' number 4 engine began to experience a bad vibration.
So out of an abundance of caution, they decided to shut the engine down and return back to Pat Bay and put her down there so we can have a look and see if there's anything obvious.
So there it is, it might be there for a while. I don't know how bad the problem is.
At this point, neither does the Coulson Group.
We're trying to get some equipment brought from Port Alberni to the airplane, and underneath the engine there's some engine stands that we can get out and they can pull the cowlings off and they'll start inspecting the engine.
This is the second failed attempt for the water bomber to make its way to Tucson. Last Wednesday, it departed from Sprout Lake, but turned around after experiencing decreased oil pressure in its number 2 engine.
Maybe it's decided it wants to stay on the island.
What I'm really happy about is that the crew is safe and the aircraft is fine.
A little more than 3 kilometers away as the crow flies is its sibling, the Hawaii Mars, at the BC Aviation Museum. It's a near reunion of the pair that spent a lifetime together.
This is a place where the Martin Mars was actually converted to being a water bomber back in the 60s, and now they're both together again. As it was trying to go down to San Francisco.
Can you believe they've been together for 80 years? And so we thought, well, if we had a problem, let's park it right next to it. It is ironic.
The Coulson Group hopes to have the problem with the Philippines' number 4 engine diagnosed later tonight. If it's an easy fix, the Coulson Group hopes to make a 3rd attempt to fly south tomorrow. Brendan Strain, CTV News, North Saanich.
Coming up next, a mudslide creates significant damage on a community north of Vancouver. Welcome back. Well, in Lions Bay, which is north of Vancouver, a mudslide has caused a fair amount of damage to the area, with one reported as dead and the other unaccounted for. This comes after a heavy windstorm that hit the island. Now on to Andrew Johnson of CTV News.
One home on the slope above the village of Lions Bay is gone.
The house has been completely swept off its foundation. Yeah, it's no longer up the hill where it was. It's now down near the bottom of the hill and in pieces.
A couple lived there. One of them was swept away and killed in the mudslide. The body discovered yesterday.
It's extremely upsetting for the community. Community has been supportive
to family members, and they're there for each other, so we're very thankful for that.
The search goes on for the other person who was swept away. The village, about 30 kilometers north of Vancouver, has now declared a state of emergency, bringing in additional resources to search and clean up.
It's not a little mudslide that went across the road and interfered with people's daily lives driving back and forth on the highway. It's actually quite a bit of debris that has to be searched through. And it's not very safe or stable right now.
The Sea to Sky Highway, the link between Vancouver and Whistler Ski Resort, was closed for more than 18 hours after the Saturday slide. A reception center was set up at Whistler for travelers who were stranded. The landslide hit during a windstorm that also knocked out power to hundreds of thousands on BC's south coast.
And there is one more death being blamed on that storm. A woman was killed after being hit by a falling tree branch in her Metro Vancouver driveway. A tragic start to the week with new snow and rain warnings in effect for the region tomorrow. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
And turning to tonight's weather, the Prince Rupert area should have some periods of rain with potential wet snow as well, and the rainfall should be between 5 and 10 millimeters. Wind should be from the east at 30 kilometers per hour, except from the northeast at 70 kilometers per hour through the inlets and valleys, and the temperature should be near +3 degrees. The Terrace and Kitimat region should see cloudy conditions with some snow beginning earlier in the evening, right around 2 to 4 centimeters, and winds will be coming from the north at 30 kilometers per hour, increasing to 50 at times, with a temperature at -5, but feeling like -14 with the wind chill. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District should have snow ending after midnight, followed by a 30% chance of flurries, and the winds will be lighter, right around 15 kilometers per hour. The temperature should be near -10 with a wind chill of -18. Now onto your weekly weather forecast. The Prince Rupert area should see a decently warm week with 3 days in the double digits, but expect rain for the entire week, and the low will be 4 degrees on Wednesday night. After a quick warning of wind over the past 36 hours, expect winds to drop to 20 kilometers per hour tomorrow. The Terrace and Kitimat region should see another colder day tomorrow, which with the low along with a wind chill of being -11. Expect a fair amount of snow throughout the week with consistent temperatures and high of 1 degree on Friday and Saturday. The Bulkley Valley and Lakes District should see similar conditions to Terrace and Kitimat, but will have more flurries than consistent snow, and the low will be -9 tomorrow and the high will be -2 on Friday and Saturday. And now we take a look at our Northwest roadside report, which is merely the same as yesterday. On Highway 16, there is bridge maintenance from Hazelton to Telkwa, utility work in Vanderhoof and slippery sections. On Highway 37, the Moonlit Creek Rest area is closed due to flooding. They also have slippery sections. Highway 37A, Highway 118, the Nishka Highway, and Telegraph Creek Road all have slippery sections. These are what the cameras were looking at around the Northwest. Still to come, Terry Fox will be the new face on the $5 bill. Welcome back. Announced yesterday, it was made official that Canadian icon Terry Fox will be the main face on the $5 bill. This is a big day for Port Coquitlam, who will see their running star on Canada's most common bill. Here's Ben Nesbitt of CTV News.
To me, the only important part about the publicity is cancer can be beaten.
His legacy has carried on for decades after the Marathon of Hope. Now Canadians will get another reminder of the courageous actions of the great Terry Fox.
Terry is someone who unites Canadians from coast to coast. You know, no matter who you are, where you're from, what your background is, you can identify with Terry Fox.
Monday, it was announced during the federal government's fall economic statement that Fox will replace Sir Wilfrid Laurier on the $5 bill. Premier David Eby took to social media saying he was elated to hear the news, adding Terry showed how strength and determination in the face of difficulty can have a lasting impact for generations to come. The Port Coquitlam native ran a marathon per day on his prosthetic leg, raising nearly $25 million for cancer research by the time he was hospitalized in early 1981.
Being the hometown of Terry Fox is a very special honor, but I think that what comes with that is a special responsibility for us to ensure that Terry's story continues to be told and can continue to inspire the next generation of Canadians.
Laurier will now be the face of the $50 bill, while Fox's family said they hope when the Terry Fox Fiver lands in the wallets and pockets of Canadians that they will consider Terry's vision of eradicating cancer through research. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Vancouver.
And in recent news, the current president and CEO of LNG Canada, Jason Klein, will be heading back to Texas this spring. Effective April 1st, Chris Cooper, who is currently LNG's senior vice president for the Phase 1 pipeline and expansion, will replace Jason Klein as president and chief executive officer of LNG Canada. Cooper has extensive history in leadership in the oil and gas industry and said he is pleased to be continuing his journey with LNG Canada. And Klein will continue to work with Shell, but his next placement has not been announced at this time. LNG Canada says they remain on track to ship first cargoes by the middle of 2025. And during the news that Chrystia Freeland had resigned from her cabinet position as finance minister, the Department of Finance unveiled the fall economic statement just yesterday. This was tabled by the government House Leader Karina Gould. Now on to Colton Prale of CTV News.
Canadians learning today the federal deficit is nearly $62 billion, well past the $40 billion outlined in the last budget. Ottawa says driving the increase is nearly $18 billion in Indigenous claims expenses, most of it reserved for potential future payouts related to ongoing legal cases.
The bus flew off the cliff, and now Canadians are at the bottom of the ravine in a big pile of debt.
There's $24 billion in new spending over the next 6 years. Crucially, $1.3 billion is tied to border security, over half of that for the CBSA, while more than $17 billion focuses on incentives for businesses to invest in capital goods.
So the government is really changing their economic focus from being very focused on social programs and immigration over the past few years. They're now changing tack and going for productivity investments.
In a rare occurrence, the fall economic statement doesn't include a signature or foreword from the finance minister, nor was there ministerial comment in the House of Commons when Karina Gould tabled the document. Instead, Dominic LeBlanc takes over the finance post, juggling a massive deficit, tariff threats, and his numerous other portfolios.
So I guess I'll start early in the morning and work late at night and probably won't take a lot of weekends off.
And now we take a look at the stock market, where we once again have drops in most categories. The Canadian dollar is down 0.3 of a penny. The price of gold is down $8.60. Oil is down 53 cents. Natural gas is up 16 cents. And aluminum is down $25. In Toronto, the TSX is down 27.5 points. The Venture Index is down 4. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 267. And NASDAQ is down 64.83. Still ahead, the premiers of Canada gather in Toronto to discuss tariffs at the border and the state of the federal government. Welcome back to our last segment. Well, the premiers of Canada gathered in Toronto just yesterday to promise stability and unity as the federal government looks to adjust to Freeland's resignation. This comes at a time where Donald Trump's threat to 25% tariffs on Canadian imports is looming large and could create a possible trade war. Here's Adrian Gabriel of CTV News.
As the country's premiers appeared in lockstep today, one word was used to describe the state of the federal government.
It's chaos right now up in Ottawa.
Chrystia Freeland's resignation from her cabinet post as finance minister begged one question to Canada's provincial and territorial leaders.
As premiers, do you have confidence in a Trudeau government to lead Canada into a tariff war that is knocking on our door?
All the premiers are going to be at the table, making sure that we move forward in a very constructive way, a very collaborative way to protect our provinces and our territories and our entire country. I have faith in the premiers. That's who I have faith in.
While Ontario's premier sidestepped the question and others remained silent, Alberta's premier did follow up with an answer of her own as she called for an immediate federal election.
I think we're running out of time on this government. I think the chaos that we've seen this last day suggests that we need to have that election soon.
Doing their best to show a united front, those at the table agreed there's no greater risk to Canada's economy than U.S. tariffs, adding that if they come to pass, it would be a significant failure by the Trudeau government. Meanwhile, south of the border, President-elect Donald Trump said tariffs would be a boost for the U.S.
Tariffs will make our country rich.
Canada's new finance minister recently traveled with the Prime Minister to meet Trump in Florida and says the tariff threat will be a big part of his focus.
I was at the dinner at Mar-a-Lago 2.5 weeks ago and saw two leaders focused on a number of priorities.
And for our last story of the day, it's about a group who take a picture with Santa every year in multiple different outfits, which has grown into a yearly tradition. On to Adam Sawatsky with more.
Yeah, I know.
Rather than a partridge in a pear tree, that first photo at Christmas, Kierden says, simply featured friends on a mall Santa's knee.
It was an excuse to do something fun in the middle of school, the school day.
So much fun, Costa says, there was no need for a few French hens to entice more high school friends to participate in the following year's photos.
It was just like a fun way to celebrate our friend group.
But like calling birds lead to geese a-laying and swans a-swimming in the song, the Friends' costume collection only increased every year.
So it was Hawaiians.
Wearing bright shirts and baby sunglasses.
We have done Western.
Dressed to impress the maids a-milking, unlike the year of the housecoat.
I wore my gross old bathrobe that I've had since I was 10 years old to the mall.
And who needs doves when you're wearing turtlenecks? Or rings when you're sporting far more than 5 golden chains?
We've always attempted to get bigger and better.
Like the 11th annual photo, when they set up a rented green screen in their middle school gymnasium to pay tribute to Da Vinci's Last Supper painting, featuring Kierden's grandpa, a professional mall Santa with a business card to prove it.
He'll do gigs and appearances wherever you need him.
While ladies dance and lords leap, over the years, many of Kierden and Costa's friends have left. But no matter where they attended university or started careers, they've always returned home for the holidays for the picture, except during COVID.
You know, we have our challenges and ups and downs, but if you put in that energy and you work through things, then yeah, over time, you can end up with 12 photos of you and Santa together.
Which brings us to this 12th year of Christmas, where instead of pipers piping or drummers drumming, it's the elderly aging.
I hope that at some point we're going to have Santa photos with kids and Santa photos with our grandkids and, eventually maybe I play Santa.
And after countless photos at Christmas, this is how these true friends hope they'll be, still posing with Santa for all to see. Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.
That'll be all for tonight's cast. Thank you very much for tuning in, and good night.